Let's be honest, when we think of surgery today, we picture something sterile, quiet, controlled. But it wasn't always like that. Not even close. Less than 2 centuries ago, it was a waking nightmare. Today, we're diving into the dramatic and frankly chaotic story of how humanity finally conquered surgical pain.
I mean, can you even imagine that? An operation wasn't a cure you hoped for. It was this terrifying, absolute last resort. The choice you faced was often between dying from your illness or enduring the brutal, conscious agony of the surgeon's knife. It's a horrifying thought.
So before anesthesia, the operating room was basically a theater of agony. And it was ruled by one single merciless factor, the clock.
Back then, what made a surgeon good wasn't their precision, it was their speed. Seriously, the best of the best could amputate a leg in under a minute. And they had to, because every single second they took was another second of excruciating pain for a patient who was wide awake. This brutal reality meant that any kind of complex, delicate surgery inside the body, totally impossible.
But, people never stopped looking for a way to silence that pain. For centuries, healers and doctors tried pretty much everything they could think of to give their patients even a moment of relief. The thing is, these early methods were a total shot in the dark. Yeah, herbal stuff like opium could sometimes dull the senses, but they were so unreliable. The dose that might just calm one person could actually be fatal to someone else. And let's be real, none of it was nearly powerful enough to block the absolute torment of surgery.
Okay, so by the 1840s, the search shifts to inhaled gases. People started noticing that things like nitrous oxide, laughing gas, were being used at parties, and they made people seem insensitive to pain. So this dentist, Horace Wells, he gets this brilliant idea. He thinks, I can use this for surgery. He sets up this huge public demonstration, and it was a complete, utter disaster. The patient cried out in pain, the audience booed Wells right off the stage, he was publicly humiliated, and it seemed like the dream was over.
But just 1 year later, another attempt would be made, and this time, in front of a room full of skeptical doctors, one single event was about to change the world forever.
So the scene is set at Massachusetts General Hospital, and the air in that room is thick with skepticism. I mean, everyone remembered Wells's public failure. They were all expecting another embarrassment, another humbug, as they called it. They had absolutely no idea they were about to witness a revolution.
This is where another dentist, William T.G. Morton, steps up. He uses a strange new inhaler to give the patient ether. Then the surgeon, Dr. Warren, begins to cut, and the room was quiet, completely silent. The patient didn't scream. He didn't even flinch. The tension must have been unbearable. Finally, the tumor was out. The patient woke up and he just calmly said he'd felt nothing more than a slight scratch.
The surgeon, Dr. Warren, turned to his absolutely stunned audience and said the words that would go down in history. Gentlemen, this is no humbug. Right there, in that one moment, thousands of years of surgical agony had finally come to an end.
Now, you'd think a discovery this huge would bring nothing but fame and fortune to the people behind it, right? Well, what actually followed this incredible medical triumph was a very human and very ugly battle over credit and money.
First, let's talk about the good news, because it was amazing. News of this miracle spread like wildfire. Within just a few months, surgeons in London and Paris were using ether. This ability to operate without pain completely changed what was possible. Suddenly, doctors could take their time, they could be precise, they could actually go deep inside the human body and fix things with care.
But while the world was celebrating, a nasty fight was brewing. 3 men all claimed the discovery as their own. There was Morton, the one who actually pulled off the successful demonstration. Then there was Horace Wells, the guy who had failed so spectacularly a year earlier. And finally, Charles Jackson, a colleague of Morton's, who insisted he was the one who gave Morton the idea in the first place.
This incredible gift to humanity became a personal curse for them. They spent their lives and their fortunes suing each other, trying to patent anesthesia and get rich from it. Morton even tried to hide what ether was, calling it lithion to keep it a secret. Instead of being hailed as heroes, their lives were just consumed and ultimately destroyed by this bitter, toxic rivalry.
But despite the personal tragedies of its creators, their breakthrough kicked off a brand new era of medicine, one that every single one of us benefits from today.
Anesthesia is so much more than just a medical term. It really represents a fundamental turning point in human history. It's the moment we finally defeated one of our oldest and most universal enemies,
unbearable physical pain. And, getting people to accept it wasn't a slam dunk. Some religious groups actually argued that pain, especially the pain of childbirth, was sent by God and shouldn't be interfered with. It really took Queen Victoria herself using another anesthetic, chloroform, to give birth to help make it socially acceptable. Her decision pretty much silenced the critics overnight.
And that's really the bottom line here. This isn't just some dusty old story. Every single one of us who might need an operation someday, who can just go to sleep and wake up with the problem fixed, we all owe a massive debt to that chaotic, tense, and ultimately world-changing day back in 1846.
So it leaves us with this fascinating, kind of tragic question. This breakthrough saved millions from agony and totally revolutionized medicine, but it brought nothing but ruin to the men behind it. It really makes you wonder, what is the true price of an idea that changes the world?